Good morning, Brevard County. It's Veterans Day 2020, and you are here. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to begin our ceremony today by remembering veterans of all eras, and you'll hear from a lot of them today. But let's first remember that our country rallies our veterans, and we will just say that on this day, the Brevard Veterans Memorial Center, our 500 members, and the 72,000 veterans in Brevard County we represent could not let this go by. COVID be, I'll leave it to you. Hurricanes and tropical storms be. Veterans Day is here, Veterans Day in Brevard County, and it's being streamed live on a couple of different venues, and the media is here, which we really, really appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if able. I'd like to present Chaplain Chip Hansen, who will begin our ceremony today with the invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty God, be with us as we come together on this day to pay tribute to those who have served and those who are still serving in our armed forces. We are grateful for their dedication, commitment, and countless selfless acts that they have performed, and the sacrifices of their families so that we might continue to enjoy our freedom. We thank you for the service to our nation, and we thank you for their commitment to service to their families and to their communities and to society in the years that they have served. We are mindful of the fact that many of the comrades sacrificed their very lives on the fields of honor, on the seas and the airs, and where the battles of war have been fought. We remember those today with great reverence and thanksgiving. We thank you for our great land and life and liberty and the freedom we pursue of happiness that continues the legacy to forbear and go with our great republic. Continue your blessings upon our great nation. Further, God, heal our great nation, first of the pandemic that has caused so much suffering and death. Second, heal the anger and the hate that has divided our nation. Let us remember that we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America. Amen.
Please remain standing and return your covers if appropriate. It's my honor to present the Courageous Vision Sea Cadets Car Guard. Present colors. Ladies and gentlemen, to sing the national anthem, Delinda Griffiths.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last star-spangled banner yet waving o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well done. Please take your seat. Thank you, Linda. Inspiring, as always. Retire colors. A big hand for the courageous division of Sea Cadets. They're based here at the center, and they are the future of our country, along with all those JROTC and all the other cadets we support throughout the county. What is Veterans Day? Let's begin with what it is not. It's not Decoration Day, which became Memorial Day. The last Monday now in May. In 2021, Memorial Day will be the 31st, the last day of May. Those holidays begin earlier, and they focus on America's fallen. Veterans Day celebrates all veterans from all services who have served our great country. Today, there are 14.7 million American veterans alive in the United States, with only 1/2 of 1% of our population now in military uniform. This number will likely go down every year. World War II alone had almost 19 million veterans. Less than 270,000 are alive as we speak. Please remember, our celebration of veterans goes back to the Revolutionary War. Several sons of the American Revolution are here today. SAR, wave your hand, stand up. And you'll recognize one for sure. Sons of the American Revolution. Their ancestors fought in the Revolutionary War. We want you to check out their newly refurbished memorial cannon that recognizes the last naval battle of the Revolutionary War, which was fought off the coast of Cape Canaveral in 1783. So check out the monument and the new cannon reinstalled, looking good, and thank you, SAR, for transferring that monument where many more will see it. The Veterans Day National Ceremony, one ceremony for our entire country, is held each year on November 11th at Arlington National Cemetery. The ceremony will begin today at Arlington at 11 o'clock with a wreath being placed at the Tomb of the Unknowns. The tradition began when World War I ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 2018. The war to end all wars was not to be. Ed Saunders, an Army veteran of Vietnam and now active in veteran support matters in Montana, who has become a friend of mine, he had it right. Quote, America must never forget freedom's price. If America does not strive fervently to honor veterans to the highest standards afforded by law and our good graces as a free people, the veterans' sacrifice and noble service in the cause of freedom are reduced to the common, to the insignificant. This America must never allow or tolerate. End quote. Many of us believe there is no America without veterans. Veterans Day is dedicated to honor and thank all military members and their families who served and sacrificed, who are alive today. Your presence here today, despite all the other things you could be doing and all the other things that are out there that are preventing us from having our usual 500 people here today, we appreciate that you came. We want to especially thank the media present here today. Several different media are here. Norm Moody of Senior Life, and Space Coast Daily, and Florida Today are all here today to record this for others. So while we're here, just us, many more people in Brevard County will understand what we did today. At this point, about 2 months ago, when we decided what would be our theme, we chose a motto of our entire center: stories of service. So we went, and it took us a while to get, but we got a great group of people, many of whom may not have spoken to this large group in the past, but who have stories of a day or two in their lives in the service during a conflict period that we wanted to let them share their stories. Generally speaking, we're talking enlisted soldiers on the front lines, and we really understand how much and how important those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guard are in wartime and in peacetime. And in my lifetime, we've always been at war. Cold War, War on Terror, and all the other wars. I was born a year after World War II ended, but all of you can, in my generation, can relate to that. So, to lead us off, and we would ask all the members who had joined us today, who served in the military during that period of war, and I'll remind you each time, please stand also to be recognized. Our guest speakers speak for you and our country as well as themselves. Please let me welcome World War II and Korean War veteran. He served in the 10th Mountain Division in Italy during World War II, and he's got an amazing story. And it took me a month, but we got it down to under 5 minutes. Right, George? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, George Rosenfield, United States Army.
My Time in World War II by George Rosenfield, Major, U.S. Army, retired. I want to tell you what a surviving combat infantry soldier brings home with him and lasts him for the rest of his life. I was a combat infantry soldier in World War II and a combat engineer leader in the Korean War, 1950 and 51. I was a volunteer member of the U.S. Army Ski Troops, which became the 10th Mountain Division when we prepared for deployment to Italy. We opened up the German Gothic defense line about 20 miles north of Florence, Italy, for the spring 1945 offensive. I was a Browning automatic rifleman, which in Italy had a combat life expectancy of about 12 minutes. What saved me and the others was we were short of that weapon, so I only had it every third day. The other days, I was assigned as a scout, the person who always goes first. For our division's 3 months of combat, February 19 to May 2nd, when the Germans surrendered, my company suffered 25 killed and 128 wounded. My division made 3 basic attacks against the Germans, 18-19 February, 5 March, and 14 April. The division had more than 1,000 killed and 4,000 wounded. Our first attack was the night of 18-19 February. It was terrible. We could not dig in to protect ourselves. We were shelled by tree bursts, and then the Germans would infiltrate our lines. There was no light, and we could hear contacts between the Germans and our soldiers. This happened 2 or 3 times before daylight had stopped. That morning, from our platoon of 38 men, only 17 walked out of their own power. Later that week, a German shell landed in our company mortar emplacement, killing 3 men. We took turns going over to have a look. There weren't enough pieces left to put them back together. I went into the bushes to vomit and mess my pants. I threw away my underwear. On our second big attack on March 5th, I was a scout leading my squad around the side of a mountain. The word came forward to check out a farmhouse about 200 feet down the grassy north slope that we were on. In front of the 2-story stone house was a hedgerow. to stop the sliding snow. My squad leader, 10 feet behind me, was on the fall line with the house. He reached the hedgerow 2 steps before me, was shot through the throat, and died in my arms. It should have been me, but he got there first. A bazooka came up and put a round through the second-floor window. A German soldier exited the side door and ran towards the stand of trees. I had a good line of sight and shot him dead. I have no memory of what we did next. My sergeant is buried in the American Cemetery along the main road a few miles south of Florence. I have since visited his grave at least 6 or 8 times, almost every time I have traveled to Italy. Our company casualties from 5 Barge were 4 killed and 15 wounded. One night we were advancing up a mountainside on about a 45-degree slope, up to our thighs in soft snow, and a line of soldiers about 10 feet apart. A German artillery shell landed between myself and the man on my right. In the soft, deep snow and the angle of the slope, the shell did not explode. It just skidded down the mountain. Sometime during the next several days, I was again the first scout of my platoon. We came around the nose of the mountain slope when a sniper bullet whizzed overhead. We hit the ground in a prone position. The second shot grazed my nose and pushed gravel into my face. The third shot entered the helmet of the man behind me, spun around inside his helmet, and fell on his shoulder. We didn't wait for the fourth shot. We ran back around the nose of the mountain. If the sniper had been 10 feet closer, we would have died. With minor German activity, we reached the Po River. We crossed in assault boats in the dark. Our boat was strafed by a plane, but no one was hurt. We moved north. We ran out of food and lived off the Italians who were glad to see us. At the German surrender on 2nd May at Bolzano near the Brenner Pass in Austria, the German general said, "I have fought the war on 3 fronts, Russia, Greece, and Italy, and the 10th Mountain Division is the best military division I have ever fought against." Closing the Brenner Pass prevented the German army in Italy from returning to Germany and prolonging the war. We had done such a good job in Italy that we were volunteered for the invasion of Japan to be in November 1945. We landed in New Jersey on VJ Day, 12 August. I called home to my parents. P.S. I have written my stories, my life in the ski troops, and career stories. They are on the internet. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the greatest generation, George Rosenfield. Now, please be seated. Look carefully around you. There will be some other people standing up to be recognized as World War II veterans. Do I have any more? There you go. I knew you'd raise your hand. Thank you very much. And there's a Marine, World War II Marine from the Pacific Island campaigns. Thank you, sir. And thank all of you. Wait. The umbrella's asking me, where's my other World War II veteran? All right. There he is, and you were in which branch, sir? United States Army, World War II veteran. All right, thank you, sir. This afternoon, a couple of us are going to Courtney Springs and engage through glass with masks on about 50 other veterans, most of whom were from World War II. So we will remember, we will celebrate. Thank you for laying the groundwork for this great country by preserving our freedom in World War II. Now, last night, at about 9 o'clock, a Korean War veteran, and I want to honor him, he's on your program. He's Joe Barty, U.S. Army. His doctor forbade him to come. That's a bit of an unexpected medical crisis. We take every precaution, and you all know that. So Joe couldn't be here, but I'm told about a half an hour ago, as you heard, this American hero also served in the Korean War. So he promised me off the cuff, a couple of minutes about Korea. George, thank you.
Thank you. After ROTC, when I returned to college, I went regular Army Corps of Engineers for 5 more years. As I said earlier, I got to Korea 50 and 51. Keeping this short, I could have kissed the Chinese 4 times when I was in Korea. The first time was an engineering job, and they were coming down the mountain about a mile and a half away from me, and we left as soon as we could. The other 3 times were blowing up bridges, and I was always selected to be left behind because I had the World War II combat experiences. They said I had the best chance of getting back. I have the 3 times we're blowing up bridges. I have the unique distinction of being the last engineer, the last Allied officer to leave the North Korean capital, Pyongyang. I blew up the last bridge across the river. Unfortunately, I had to leave a squad on the north side at 3 o'clock in the morning when I blew up the bridge, which was supposed to be blown at midnight. Fortunately, they all got back in time. It took them a week to get back. It's a long story what happened, but thank God they all got back safely. The Chinese shot at them in the morning, but nobody got hurt. So that's all I have time to say. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Korean War as well. Talk about American hero. Please stay seated. Please stay seated. Let us first recognize any other veterans from the Korean War period. Korean War. Do we have any other to recognize? Sir, what branch of service? Navy, United States Navy, Korean War veteran. Along with my father. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Korean War veteran. Thank you. Okay, George reminds me that his father was in the Navy. World War I. Okay, Dean, could you come and escort George down, please? Korean War. Very, very great. Thank you for being very flexible, George, even at age 95. Okay. We're going to skip now because it really began in 1961, less than a decade after the Korean War had an armistice. And remember, there was never a peace treaty for Korea, which is why I and many other veterans served on the DMZ in Korea and continue to do so to this day to protect South Korea from communist invasion. But the next conflict began in 61 with advisors. Representing today the Vietnam era veterans, he had 2 tours in Vietnam. First with the 155th Air Assault Helicopter Unit, and the second with the 1st CAV Airborne Air Assault. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Brevard Council Board Member Don Pearsall. I need help on our stage.
Have a seat, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, Vietnam. Heard that 700 times. It's Adrian Cronauer from Law Enforcement Radio. A lot of people probably remember the movie. I was first, when I got out of flight school, I was assigned to Darmstadt, Germany. And I was flying support for the Austrian government back and forth from Darmstadt to a geological survey team in the mountains, which was boring. All the other pilots coming back from Vietnam, they're coming over there because they had trench duty. They minded Europe. And when they're coming over there, tell me what an exciting time they had in Vietnam. So being a 19-year-old knucklehead, I volunteered to go to Vietnam. I was there, I'd say about 3 or 4 months. And we were out low leveling. We had a mission to supply the Marine Corps out in a little town called Tuiwa.
every other morning we would fly over this river, hit a waterfall, and we'd climb up the waterfall. Well, this particular time we went out, there was a North Vietnamese encampment up there. And all hell broke loose. We seen guys heading towards our stacked arms. I caught the sight of a rifleman and a grenade launcher pointed at us. I swung my gun around, took those two people out. Just the bullet come through the cockpit, severed the radio, and hit the pilot in the leg. What I can remember now, people say to me, well, Vietnam, do you ever have a longing to go back? Hey, I'm there every night. So I remember a lot of the things that happened, but a lot of things kind of fade in memory. I remember the bullet coming in that hit a roll bar next to me, shattered, and went into my leg, and then into the transmission of the helicopter. Well, we put about 13 miles on out over the jungle, and finally we just couldn't maintain flight, and we went in upside down into the jungle. And the pilot, naturally his leg was really shot, so in order to escape, we knew the North Vietnamese would be at Cong were going to be looking for us. So we had to get out of the bird in a hurry. So what we did, we took 2 pieces of bamboo, we cut the seat belts out of the bird, and we splintered the pilot's leg and were enough to move him. So we got him out, and that night we knew nobody was looking for us. We couldn't pull in our position. We went a completely different place than we were supposed to be. So we said, now we really have a serious problem here. And for an 18 and 19-year-old, it was a serious problem because you said, hey, these people are really trying to kill us out here. So that night we had to spend in the jungle. We laid on the little hill of grass and the elephant grass, and we laid feet to feet so that to look in every direction. And if somebody spotted or heard something, they would just use pressure against the foot for everybody else to be alert. Well, they have what they call the tattletale of the woods. The tattletale of the woods happen to be the monkeys. Anytime anybody moved, the monkeys would go crazy. Well, the North Vietnamese knew this. They sent out patrols looking for us. We said, no, we don't want to become prisoners. But we didn't have the firepower to engage them. So we were more or less at the mercy of good Lord. We laid there all night. Worst night. We heard some firefighters going on in the distance, and we're just hoping that we wouldn't get into one because what we had was one machine gun, mine, and a couple of handguns. That was it. Well, we laid there all night, and the next morning, just at daybreak, we seen a patrol coming up this trail. So, I hope they're friendlies. Well, sure enough, it was a LRP patrol, Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, from the Marine Corps, which, we have our problems and we banter back and forth about Army, Marines, Air Force, Navy. Boy, they were a lot of set. They took us to a mountain yard village, and the mountain yards were indigenous personnel. They were tribes that were aligned to us, hunted with crossbows, really indigenous personnel. They guarded us. They loved the Americans. And the reason they loved the Americans is because the Vietcong and North Vietnamese would come in, rape the women, steal their food, and kill the tribal elders. So they hated the Vietcong and North Vietnamese. They backed us out. Helicopters called in over there. It's called Dust Off. And they took us up in a basket away from the village. And they sent me to 158 Medical Center in Tay Ninh, which was about 60 miles away. And I was there for a period of time. Then they sent me to Triple Army Medical Center in Hawaii. I stayed there for about 4 weeks. Got the okay to return to duty by the flight surgeon. day we got shot down was February 18th of 1968, right after the Tet Offensive started. So it was kind of rough. That kind of opened your eyes a little bit, you know. So I said, well, what do I do? Do I go back home? I had the opportunity to come back home. I had the opportunity to go back to Germany. I don't know. I stayed. Why? Now, everybody who's been in a situation like that, would you do it again? Rob? Absolutely, right? You do it again. So that's what I did. I stayed for a second tour. This time they said, well, we're going to put you up in the air a little higher, but you're going to be doing a more important job. This time you're going to have rockets. Oh, man, love rockets. So they put me in the gunship, and I flew with the first cav away, and I didn't know I was going away. All the other pilots and crews got orders to go to Way. Mine said AGUD, so I thought I was going to Hugh, wherever that was. But that was Way. That's how you spelled it. So we went to Way, and we supported Marine Corps up there, and then, you know, Marine Corps really did a lot up there in that city, Imperial City. And the year went by, and everything was fine. And November 2nd of the following year, we got scrambled about 3 in the morning because one of the compounds near us contained a leper colony, and the Viet Cong would raid this leprosarium and steal their doctors, kidnap their doctors, and send them up north. So we were sent out to guard the leprosarium. When we did, from 800-900 feet, we could look down the jungle and we could see like fireflies around. These fireflies were actually mortar flashes from where they were hitting one of the compounds. That's the time we really get excited. Now we're going to use our rockets. And we banked out, we come into a rocket position, and we were setting up for the attack. Everything was fine, and a 20-minute fuel warning light came on. We had to abort the attack and return to base to fuel. When we did, we refueled in a hurry because we wanted to get back out there and use our rockets. And we took off, and as we took off, we were hit, and they blasted the whole tail of the bird right off, and we crashed, burned, not too far from the perimeter of that camp that we were fueling at. Again, here we are upside down on fire. We're saying, man, this has got to stop. You know, and we were concerned because of the armament we had on board, the 2.75 folding fin rockets that we carried didn't arm themselves until they made so many spirals. We didn't worry about them blowing up in the pod. We were worried about the fact we just took on a whole load of fuel. Again, the Marine Corps, boom, right there. They happened to be outside. She lives. Oh, her dad was a Marine. We were right outside the compound by about maybe 2 miles, 3 miles. So it wasn't too big in the back, but we were really beat up bad. We got bounced around. So I stayed on duty for about another 3 weeks, and I was starting to have really major problems. So they sent me to Walter Reed Medical Center. And then because the Tet Offensive was still going on, they said, well, we got too many ambulatory people here. We're going to send you to Fort Meade, Maryland, to Kimbrough Army Hospital. Everybody probably knows what Kimbrough is. So we went down there, and it was in the hospital for about 4 weeks. And the major comes around to me and says, you're going home. I said, seriously? This is awesome. So I decided this is the thing. I said, well, my wounds are that bad. And he goes, no, you're too hard on our equipment. So they got me ready to go home, and I just didn't want to go home. So I re-enlisted again. And they kept me right at Fort Meade, and I flew as a civilian at a Friendship Airport in Maryland. Now, the Marine Corps takes care of the president and his entourage. We took care of the congressmen, governors, senators that flew into Friendship, took them out to Camp David for a presidential meeting, brought them back so they could catch their flight home. Great duty. And I figured, wait a minute, Vietnam is still going on. I got a combat flight MOS. What's going to happen? They're going to keep me here? Nah, they'll not keep me here. So that's when I decided, see, I got to go out. And I put in 29 years as a sheriff's officer in Jefferson County, New York.
Fantastic. Now, everybody definitely stay seated now, because this is going to be a rising group coming here, right? Everybody who served in the Vietnam era, please rise. Veterans of Vietnam era, please rise. Thank you for your service. Fantastic. Thank you. Vietnam divided our country. When we were putting our program together, I was delighted to be able to meet Jamie Pritchard. She had been a chaplain and a facilitator and a person who really cares about people with her company, which is here today, and you can learn more about her. She had a unique story. So, Jamie, may I ask you to share that story about the home front and the aftermath of Vietnam?
Good morning. My name is Jamie Pritchett. I was not in the U.S. military, but I am proud that I was married to an Air Force man. My husband was Larry Walter Pritchett, and he passed away 8.5 years ago. In Vietnam, he was stationed at Nha Trang Air Base and flew in and out of Quy Nhon. His assignment was as a forward air controller, flying the O-1 Bird Dog. As many of you know, that was flying low-level flights near the ground, trying to draw enemy fire so then the fighters could come in and see where the fire was and take care of the enemy. He was sure he would be killed there, but he was not. Many of his friends were. We didn't meet until years after Vietnam, but I heard the stories from him and from others of how the U.S. soldiers were treated when they returned to the States. He was spit on, had red paint thrown on him, called the baby killer, and more. His experiences affected him for the rest of his life. I think many of you know what I'm talking about. Last year, I was in Northern Ireland for a few weeks and visited a church near Belfast. Doesn't this sound unrelated? But it is. There was a pastor from Vietnam also visiting, and after church, I went to lunch with a group that included this pastor. He was in his late 70s, and while we were talking, he mentioned that he had been in the South Vietnamese Army. I then shared that my husband had been in Vietnam in the Air Force. I wasn't sure how the conversation would go, but then he surprised me. He said, "I always tell all the American soldiers, thank you for coming to help our country. You all were the most supportive of us. Thank you." I wish my husband could have heard that. It would not have fixed everything, but it is definitely something. I wanted to share that with you. In John 15:3, Jesus said this, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends." Well, all of you have laid down your lives for some people who didn't even know. Some people in another country whose life and liberty was being threatened, just as you would for your own country. This pastor and his wife have been in prison several times, a total of 7 years, for being Christians. They cannot speak openly about their faith in their own country because communism tries to destroy faith in anything except their ideology. And you all were fighting against that. Pastor Tim thanks you, and I thank you, Vietnam veterans especially. I was so moved about hearing this. 50 years later, I wanted to tell any of you who served over there, you made a difference to this man and many more. I have a paper about him, just a tiny little information, and he's in Vietnam, and he's still
I think that's better now. Your fingertips.
Thank you. Okay, so at the table over there is a trauma healing table, and there's some information about him. Okay, and now I want to say another thank you to those with Operation Iraqi Freedom. Similar thing happened a few years ago when my daughter graduated from college and moved to Erbil, Iraq to teach English at Salah ad-Din University. when I went to visit her in 2006, I went to one of her classes at the university and was surprised by the warm welcome I received from everyone. You are American? Welcome, welcome. We love President Bush. We love Condi Rice, they would say over and over again. Can you come to dinner at my house tonight? Can you come to have lunch with my family? So what I found out after I got an interpreter and got to spend a little time with some of the people was they were so grateful that the Americans came in and took care of Saddam Hussein. They were so grateful. Every single family had lost somebody from Saddam Hussein and that regime. People were telling me how their father had all his teeth pulled out and then nails put through his hands. And another man, an Arab man from Baghdad, his brother disappeared and was never seen again. Others were tortured, and many had lost family members in Halabja, where they were gassed to death. So they were grateful. And a few years after that, they sent a contingent of Kurdish people to the United States. They sent a contingent to the United States to go around the states and tell what happened and how grateful they were. And guess what? The news media never picked up on this, but they were grateful. And I just want to tell all of you that as well. You probably never hear these thank yous from the people in the country.
Thank you, James. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get the musical interlude, quickly, I want to introduce, I saw him sneak in. He forgot the time that the battle lines kicked off, but a World War II veteran has joined us, Peter Diaz. Please stand, Peter. Thank you for your service. At this time, I'd like to ask our Lonnie and Delinda Beach Band to play the Armed Forces Medley. Please stand when the service song that you are proud to have been in, and even if you weren't, please stand. Oh, you all. Please stand as these songs are played. The Armed Forces Service Medley. our services. Merchant Marine. Wow, the Merchant Marines. Anybody from Merchant Marines? All right, we didn't forget. All right, thank you, Dr. Lonnie. Great job. I want to take a minute before we do a special presentation to a lot of other veterans. Briefly, we are recognized today. I want to read a portion of the Declaration for Veterans Day in Florida from Governor DeSantis. Whereas Florida is recognized as one of our nation's most military and veteran-friendly states. Isn't that true? Yeah. With 1.5 million veterans calling the Sunshine State home, and whereas the patriotism of those in uniform who have defended the timeless truths and great freedom on which our nation was founded will continue to serve as inspiration for generations to come. And whereas Veterans Day is a national and state holiday that is an important opportunity to honor our courageous men and women who have honorably served in the armed forces of the United States. And whereas Floridians and Americans, we take great pride in honoring our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and merchant mariners, Merchant Marine Organization on this day and every day. And finally, whereas Florida will always honor and support the selfless sacrifices and courages of our military, their spouses, their children, and their families. From Governor DeSantis. All right. One of the things we decided to do is to have a special opportunity, because of COVID, they haven't had a whole lot of chances to do this, to award some Quilts of Valor today to veterans who've done exceptional things in their career. And I'm going to let Carmel Sowers explain to you the Quilts of Valor program quickly, and then we've got award to four. One veteran unexpectedly showed up to join us, to four veterans for Quilts of Valor. Veterans, when your name is called, come in front to receive your quilt. Don't come on the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Don. My name is Carmel Sowers, and I represent the Space Coast Quilts of Valor. We are a quilting group here in Brevard County, and of course, our name is Space Coast. I have with me, helping me today, Lynn Smith, Michelle Fennell, and Millie Ward. We are all quilters in the quilting group. The Quilts of Valor mission is to cover service members and veterans who have served our country with quilts of comfort and healing. To date, the Quilts of Valor, since its founding in 2003, has awarded 260,805 quilts to American veterans and military personnel. That's a lot of quilts. A Quilt of Valor is not a charity quilt, and it is not a blanket. It is our hope that this quilt will become a family heirloom for you, and that I was supposed to call the veterans first. And if you are a quilter, you know that the quilts consist of 3 layers held together by its quilts stitching. We'd like to think of the quilts this way. The top layer, many shapes and colors of fabrics, represents the communities and the many individuals that we are. The batting is the center of the quilt. It gives the quilt warmth, and it represents our hope that this quilt will bring warmth, healing, and comfort to the individual who receives it. The back of the quilt is typically one large piece of fabric, and it represents the strength of the recipient, because it takes a strong person to volunteer for our armed forces and to go to war. Finally, the quilts are held together with stitching. Each stitching that holds the layers together represents love, gratitude, and oftentimes the tears of the maker. Each quilt is formed by loving hands, forming the bits of fabric, joining the bits of fabric one piece at a time. The quilt may be fashioned by 1 or 2 individuals, or through the combined efforts of many women and men of all skill levels. As quilters, we want you to know that through our quilts, you will be forever not a hug strong enough. There are not words big enough. All we can offer is thank you, and that you are in our thoughts and prayers for all that you have done. The Colts of Valor wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to be able to honor you. Though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America, as an expression of gratitude, we award you this Colt of Valor. Please accept this Colt of Valor, and most importantly, welcome home. Today we are privileged to honor 4 veterans, and if I could have you come up to the podium, line here in front of the podium, please. Mr. Philip Arsenal, who served in the Army from 1964 to 1973. Show the quote to the veteran first, and then to the audience. Yes. Drop the left. Keep it inside. There we go. This is why they don't assign me to this duty, because I am right and left handicapped. Mr. Nicholas Sine served in the Army from 1998 to 2004. That's long, isn't it? 17 years. 2014. Thank you. Mr. Gary Wilson served in the Navy from 1968 to 1972. Mr. Wilson was an engine man in the Navy, but he also cooked Thanksgiving dinner for his comrades. And these quilts are made to be used. They are for when that air conditioning gets a little too cold at night and you need something else to cover up with. That's what these quilts are for. Our last veteran this morning is Dave Sherpa. There he is. Thank you so much. Dave served in the Navy and was nominated by his good friend Lisa Simon. Thank you all for your service. Your roles for the journey. Thank you all so very much. And as you can see, all the quilts are very, very different. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and welcome home.
Thank you, Carter. Very, very wonderful quilts and recognition. And we really appreciate that effort. It means a lot to veterans to stay recognized, and the Colts of Valor is a huge part of what they're saying. What I'd like to do now is introduce some very special guests. This person is hiding under a tree, trying to blend in with the green camouflage, but we will not allow that. Sheriff Ivey, post forward! Sheriff Ivey, congratulations, Brevard County Sheriff, reelected. And thank you to the entire team for helping us with parking. They help us in many, many things. We are a partnership in law enforcement that is, I think, an exceptional example when veterans and law enforcement come together. Sheriff Ivey, thank you. She's not here today unless she's hiding. I got a note today that said Debbie Mayfield. Okay, She's here in spirit, and she was reelected. She's a big supporter of our Veterans Memorial Center. Take the Honorable Port Commissioner Wayne Justice. And the newly elected mayor of Palm Bay, veteran advocate and all-around good guy, even though there's a Marine, Rob Medina. And she tried to sneak in, but you cannot do it. We are military. We have good intelligence, good eyes. Dana Blixley, thank you for coming to join us today. We appreciate it very much. If I missed anybody, our hearts are with you too. All of you support the Veterans Memorial Center and veterans, but I wanted to single these people out especially. All right, let's return to our stories of service. Throughout the entire time, from the Berlin airlift in '48, we really began what most people quickly call the Cold War. To represent the Cold War today, first an enlisted and then an officer in the United States Navy who served for over 24 years in the Navy and also retired from NASA. Our president of our Veterans Memorial Center and a good friend, Dean Schaaf, United States Navy.
It's just one aspect of the involvement in the Cold War. I'm speaking to you first as Don said, as an E5 in the Navy and finally as an 04 Lieutenant Commander. I retired, I was drafted in 65 and retired in 91. But the Cold War, the official dates are 1945 to 1991. During World War II, the U.S. was threatened by German submarine U-boats. There were observation towers all along the east coast of the United States. One of these observation towers right here is designed, the architect designed this building to represent those outposts along the east coast. The U.S. Navy was also developing an anti-submarine warfare capability. To counter this threat, the Navy worked with Western Electric and Bell Laboratories designed a super secret system known as the Sound Surveillance System, or SOSUS. This system consists of hydrophones placed in strategic locations along the continental shelf of the U.S., Bermuda area, the Caribbean, and the North Atlantic. These hydrophones were connected by undersea cable to a ground station called a naval facility, or NAVFAC. The unclassified mission of these NAVFACs was an oceanographic research station. There were 15 of these NAVFACs spread from Iceland, Brodie Wales, the North Atlantic, Bermuda for the Mid-Atlantic, and 5 stations to cover the eastern seaboard, 3 in the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Antigua, and Barbados. There are 15 of these stations along the east coast. There was also a system that covered the Pacific Ocean and the west coast of the U.S. Sound can travel thousands or hundreds of miles in the ocean, and the system proved invaluable in localizing and tracking the Soviet submarine threat. The system was capable of distinguishing between natural biologic noise, such as whales, and unique signature of surface ships and submarines. Probably your first unclassified reference to this system was the book by Tom Clancy in 1984, Hunt for Red October, followed by the movie in 1990. The system was still classified at that time. This was an extremely successful system and proved invaluable to counter the Soviet nuclear submarine threat. As the Soviet subs would leave their ports in the North Sea, they would transit past Norway through the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap, and enter the Atlantic Ocean either to go on missile patrol around Bermuda in the operations area or enter the Mediterranean Sea. They were under constant surveillance tracking by our SOSUS system, forward base P3, carrier base S2 aircraft, and shipboard helicopters called LAMPs. They were the first attack and our first fast attack nuclear submarines. Our newest system is shipboard and submarine covered array systems. My first duty station after electronics training at Great Lakes and Key West was at NAVFAC Keflavik, Iceland. I followed this by a tour at NAVFAC Antigua, and after selection to an officer program Lieutenant Naval Academy Prep School, Purdue University, and was commissioned a Naval Flight Officer. I flew P3s then for another 18 years to continue my ASW career. Sicily, Bermuda, Rota, Spain, Launches Azores, and worked with social stations tracking Soviet submarines. I eventually returned to NAVFAC captain, lieutenant commander, and the executive officer. This was the highlight of my Navy career. As a P3 tactical coordinator, I spent 18 years tracking the adversary. Retired in 91, the effective end of the Cold War. But do not kid yourself. We're still engaged in the Cold War.
Fantastic. That's true. I hope all of us recognize the Cold War in new, different forms continues today. All those veterans of the Cold War time frame, please rise and be recognized. Cold War. A lot of us are out there. A lot of us did multiple wars when you had the Cold War into it. Thank you for that service. We were never attacked because of our success against the opposition so far in that Cold War. Thank you all. We have now an Air Force enlisted airman who was quietly doing amazing things in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War against Iraq. Brian Humphrey, United States Air Force, operated out of Saudi Arabia with U-2 aircraft, spy aircraft that made a huge difference in our success in the war. Brian Humphrey, thank you for coming today, Brian. Brian also works one of the tables, so we appreciate it. He's got his Air Force shirt on.
Good morning. As Don said, Brian Humphrey, retired Major U.S. Air Force, also enlisted. He scraped the bottom of the barrel for me for Desert Storm. But I will tell you that I had significant events happen in my time during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Saber, Persian Gulf. If you all know that, all those names all mixed together. I did start here at Patrick Air Force Base as a security policeman. The interesting fact is we actually secured the U-2 aircraft. If you don't remember, it was back in early 90s that the U-2 aircraft was stationed at Patrick Air Force Base. A lot of that activity was to watch Cuba, and then the DEA took over those facilities. Persian Gulf War started in 1990, and if you didn't know it, it actually went to 1998. Iraq invaded Kuwait on 2nd of August 1990, which started Desert Shield. Desert Shield was from 1990 to 1991, and of course until Iraq invaded, and it started Desert Storm, Desert Sword, and Desert Saber. The U.S. ground offensive started February 24th, and as you know, quickly ended on the 27th because of our brave soldiers, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard, and Navy. When I went in 1992, so I wasn't actually there during that time frame. I always look at Marines and Army and thank you for doing the things I didn't have to do. But when I went to what was still Desert Storm, if you don't remember, Saudi Arabia was one of our largest supporters, which led us into their country to follow what was going on in Kuwait. I first got to Dhahran, which was on the northeast side of Saudi Arabia. And then I moved on to Taif, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, to King Fahad Air Base. And that's where we also had the 3 U-2 aircraft. We did not have a lot of facilities there. I think we had a few mobile homes. We had nowhere to eat, except for, okay, this is the Air Force. We ate at the Intercontinental Hotel of Taif, Saudi Arabia. So, I know, it's Air Force, that's okay. I don't know why you didn't join this service. No. We actually were part of the operation, what was called Olive Branch at the time. You might even know in 2005, I think they also had an operation called Olive Branch, which dealt with Syria and Turkey. responsible for the no-fly zone over Iraq and Kuwait. And if you don't remember, it was about 1992 that the Red Army started to go back to Kuwait on the perimeter. And the great thing about what we were doing was we worked with the United Nations in watching those things, especially because there was a no-fly zone. That was pretty interesting. All right, so I've got a few funny things that happened. So sometimes most of us, in some respect, if you were actually to admit it, suffer from PTSD, which I do. A lot of it stems from even childhood. And then it actually just escalates with all of our service, especially when you're talking about the fear that we receive and the lack of safety sometimes we feel. Real quick, I took a colonel's wife and a diplomat, who was a diplomat, and a lieutenant colonel's wife. We were actually going from Taif to Jeddah. If you know where Jeddah is, we're again on the southeast corner of Saudi Arabia near the Red Sea. We were actually taking them to replenish the base exchange. And unfortunately, I didn't know you couldn't video certain facilities on the drive there, so I was taping a facility that were responsible to the second Prince Sultan of Saudi Arabia. Well, we got pulled over by the religious police, the military police, the local police. There was about 14 or 15 cars around us, and it was about 3 hours we were sitting there. They wanted us to give us their IDs. They wanted us out of the vehicle, and I basically said, no way. So it was about 3 hours later that somebody showed up and started speaking English. It's like, oh my goodness, finally, thank you so much for being here. And he goes, well, all you need to do is give us the tape and we'll let you go. So I went back and got a blank tape and gave it to them, but they let us go. A few other of the dangers, I'll try to keep it short. If you know me, that doesn't usually happen. Right? There was a few things. This is from Saudi Arabia. So they have our F-8s, and they use them over there, and that's what the lieutenant colonel there retired was training them how to do with the husband and the wife. And unfortunately, the F-8s were actually facing fortunately, they were facing away from our hangar, and one of the missiles dropped. Tink! And it landed in a dune on the opposite side of our hangar, which kind of freaked us out a little bit. There was another person that was on the runway, another Saudi that was on the runway, and he ejected from his F-15 on the runway. The F-15 kept going into a dune. That was interesting. There was also an F-8 that caught fire right across from us, same place where the F-8 actually dropped the missile. The U-2 pilot actually, if you didn't know it, the U-2 is followed by a chase vehicle in order to communicate with him, and sometimes the security vehicle follows him. He went over there and put the fire out. Of course, they didn't want to admit it because there's no way that they would have allowed an F-8 to catch fire. And the last funny story is, as a security police, we would go through their security guards, and they had rifles, and on their equipment they had pistol ammo. It was kind of interesting, so I asked him, I said, where's your rifle ammo? Because I basically showed him our F-16s and showed him our, let's say, the 56.56. Correct me here. 5.56. There goes my memory. Anyways, they didn't have any ammo in their weapons. They just had handgun bullets instead of rifle bullets. It was kind of interesting. So you all know what happened in Khobar Towers? In 1996, I actually stayed in Khobar Towers at Dhahran about 6 years before they actually blew that up. So I want to remember the 19 airmen and the 350 that were injured. And then I just want to make sure that you understand that sometimes we're on the outskirts of what's going on from the danger that involves the Army and Marines and some of those folks that are actually kicking down doors. But we love you. We thank you. I appreciate what you do. And there is a table over here that works with PTSD and trauma healing. And if you're interested in coming by and see me, I know that you suffer from PTSD and God loves you and He wants to help you through that. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. You know that we switched generations a bit since George started. Brian read his speech from a cell phone. I don't know what the last one was going to be from a tablet. I also wanted to recognize that, remember, veterans don't choose whether they go to war. They choose to serve. And then the country chooses whether they go to war. And all the service, we have a saying here at the Veterans Center. Everyone who volunteers or is drafted signs their name on a blank check, made up to and payable to their life. So it takes courage to be, especially since 1983 when the draft ended, it takes courage to join the United States military. And thank heavens, we've got a lot of courageous people out there. All right. Our final speaker of our stories of service, Eric Hoppenbauer, United States Army, served with the 101st Airborne Air Assault Division, 4th Basic Brigade Combat Team, an E-5 from 2010 to 2013 in Afghanistan. Oh, wait, hold it. Are you flexible? Stay there 1 second. All those who served in the Gulf War. Remember, it covers a lot of time frame. The first Gulf War, the operation that we were described before. Please rise and be recognized. All right. Thank you for that service. Steve, I see you standing over there. That's good. All right. Thank you. And now our final speaker as we go, and we're going to call this, what should we call it? The War on Terror, War in Afghanistan, the War in Iraq, representing all that service for now 19 years since we invaded Afghanistan after 9/11, representing those hundreds of thousands of veterans. Eric Hoppenbauer, United States Army.
Thank you, Don, and thank you to the Brevard Veterans Council for having me speak today. I get to be the final speaker and go in the footsteps of all of the great speakers that have spoken today. I want to say I appreciate them not only for what they've spoken about today, but also coming before us in terms of the Afghan and Iraqi veterans. So I appreciate that. So back in 2010, when I enlisted, there was this really interesting and very popular miniseries on HBO called Band of Brothers, and it chronicled a company, Easy Company, 1st and 506th, during World War II. And they were in many of the really difficult battles. We're talking D-Day, they dropped in behind enemy lines. They were at Market Garden. They were at the Battle of the Bulge. These are huge, huge battles, decisive I don't want to hear any soldiers under my command being captured unless they have been hit. Even if they are hit, you can still fight back. And so I oftentimes read that when we would have mortars hit our fob or other types of events. And when I got back from Afghanistan, I spent some time with my grandfather, and he started telling me these stories from Korea. I mean, those stories that you've heard today. And I looked at my dad after he told me this, and I said, "Have you ever heard these stories?" And he said, "No. I don't think he's ever told anybody but his best friend who lives right across the street from him." And I totally realized at that moment what it meant to be a veteran, especially of a foreign war, which is to say that you kept some of these things to yourself because it was a burden that you shared for everyone. And so, in closing, I wanted to just add another quote from this great speech. There is one great thing that you men will all be able to say after this war is over and you are home once again. You may be thankful that 20 years from now, when you are sitting by the fireplace with your grandson on your knee and he is asking you what you did in the Great World War II, you won't have to cough, shift to the other knee and say, "Well, your granddaddy shoveled manure in Louisiana." No, sir. You can look at him straight in the eye and say, "Grandson, your granddaddy rode with the Great Third Army and an SOB named George Patton." That is all. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. It is amazing to me that we have veterans of our war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan who served in those wars, those conflicts, and have already been out for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years. The war goes on. All those who served in the war on terror, Iraq, Afghanistan, please rise, be thanked, be recognized. All right. Thank you. I'm going to go off script for a minute. If you are a spouse or a child of an American veteran, no veterans will stand up. Without these people that are going to be recognized, you don't do nearly as well. All family members, all children, all spouses of veterans, please stand and be thanked. Veterans go when a family goes. Veterans fight for their families as well as their comrades. You are appreciated and loved. Thank you. Let's do some patriotic music. A little bit of patriotic music. Take it away. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, let's end on this one. Let's end on this one. If tomorrow.
Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. 'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud
Marine, raise that flag to full staff. Raise that flag to full staff. Raise that flag, please, Marine Corps. Help us out. That's a full staff flag, Veterans Day, a celebration.
next to you and defend her still today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Delinda. Thank you, Marines. Have a seat. Talk about spontaneity. Sometimes the best things are unplanned. Neat. Thank you for that reaction. As a veteran, I was spurred by how you reacted. Great. I want to say a few thanks before we end our program. Sincere thanks. It won't be long because most of the people are listed in the back of your program. But look around you. Go to the tables today. Linger a bit. Get your lunch from Chick-fil-A. No charge. Thank you, Chick-fil-A, for supporting, and St. Francis Reflections, Courtney Springs, Woodstock Hospice Care, and others for providing food and drinks all day. You don't have to do lunch. Get your lunch. Visit the museum. Visit our library. Linger a bit. And then tell your friends about it. Take some trifolds home. We are not closed. We open on the 1st of June proudly, and we will never close. Well, on some holidays. But we are open because we represent veterans. And veterans never close, never stand down for duty. So I also want to thank a lot of veteran organizations, American Legion, 3344, Auxiliary, VFW, BOAC, Military Officers Cape Canaveral Chapter, DAV Chapter 123, Military Order Purple Hearts 453, Rolling Thunder! All right. And many other organizations with us today. Celebrate Recovery, Humana Medicare Benefits for Veterans, Germana Healing Institute, and all those others who in their mission are supporting veterans all the time. So thank you for having tables out here. Please go and visit and support them as you wrap up your feelings today. One of the things that many of us are asked as veterans, how do you thank a veteran? In Brevard County, we're blessed. I already mentioned 72,000 veterans. Look at this. The Veterans Memorial Center and 82-acre park is a testament. In the last 6 years, over $6.5 million from the state, from the county, from the tourist development, have been given to us in trust to make the best Veterans Memorial Center and Park in Florida, which it already is. Now we're shooting for the country. The Tourist Development Corporation just awarded $2.3 million to build an amphitheater in the park. It'll be the home of the Brevard County Symphony. It'll be the home of lots of good concerts, some of which I understand. And there'll be a lot of events out there, which we will get part of the proceeds. So it's a real special relationship that we have with the county. And many of you are taxpayers. We thank you, because where does all that money come from? Taxpayers. We are now proud, if we were not always so in decades past, we reflected back, didn't we, on the 70s, into the 80s actually in many cases. But we are now proud to wear veteran regalia. We often are thanked for our service here in Brevard County, and sometimes even get a discount, even if we aren't old geezers. We would like to show appreciation. How else could you do it? Well, attend such events as this. There were over 200 here today. You attended. You showed that appreciation. Go to Lease Across America modified form, December 19th. You'll get all the details early December. The Missing in America Project, Veteran Cemetery Restoration, working with veterans organizations on special projects. That's how you can thank veterans. We got today 26 letters from Audubon Elementary School on Merritt Island. Thank the veterans, spread them out. Dean will share them with you. It's not for him. He just happened to be the guy that got the address. It's for all of us. It's for veterans. You might want to say hello, thank you for your service, and just ask the veteran, when did you serve? To be forgotten what you've contributed to is a worse thing than being, driven to hiding that we will never do again in this country, I hope. I certainly won't. I know none of you here will. There's a word about events like this. We encourage veterans, and many of you are in this category, we're taking names, to do the Veterans History Project. We have a video capability right here in the library. You can sign up, have your story told in an hour-long DVD, give it to your family, give it to the Library of Congress, kept here. And that veteran story will never fade. When DVDs are no longer used, they'll make holograms of them, whatever. But they will go forward. And it's for the family that you don't even know yet, that will be your great-grandchildren or whatever, that will see them hear that story. We heard a little bit about the challenge of talking about war. George is the only World War II veteran I know of who never stops talking about World War II. But that's good. That's a positive, George. And I really want to say to all of you, please tell the story through the Veterans History Project. That's how you can help. Family, encourage your veteran to do that. Donate funds for a memorial tree or a brick. We have 18 memorial trees, and if you've been out there, $1.5 million is now at work in phase 2 of the park, which will include water, electric, and trees down the road. We hope for dedication to Memorial Day. You might want to write letters or contribute care packages. We used to do it right here at the center. Now the best place to do that for veterans, for military forces overseas, is Oasis of Central Florida. They'll take letters, they'll take packages, and you just go on the website, Oasis Central Florida, and they'll give you a contact information. That's a great organization that keeps our current military service when we think of that. There is much more, but just remember where we began. There are fewer veterans every year in these times, and Veterans Day is an idea, not just a date. Thank you all for coming. Veterans Day 2020. God bless you. God bless America. And let's sing together. God bless America. Please rise if able. Take it away.